Welcome back to Discovering an Educated Life. This is Megan, and today we're going to talk about what is not working in our homeschool and how it's okay to change what isn't working. So grab a cup of coffee. This is probably going to be just a difficult one for me to get through. And join me this morning or afternoon or evening, whenever you're watching. This has been a really trying year for us, and we've really tried to just get through this season. And it just hasn't always happened exactly how we've wanted things to go. So I'm gonna start and talk a little bit about why certain things weren't working and how we're gonna change to make those subjects and those things work better for my daughter. And we're also going to talk a little bit about that being okay, because I think there's just this stigma that like you have to stick it out in the homeschool community, and that's not always true. And I want to talk a little bit about something not working for one child, and that doesn't make it a bad thing. It doesn't mean it's a bad curriculum. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with it. It just means that it's not a good fit for that family or that child in that season even. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and I hope you stay tuned. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I would love for you to join me every week and just hear about updates in our homeschool, hear about great book recommendations that I have on all different genres, and just stay tuned in what's going on in our lives. So hit that like and subscribe button. Okay, so the first thing today I want to talk to you guys about that is not working is our core curriculum. This year we've been studying Adventures in U.S. History, and I don't want to say it's not working. My daughter's learning from this, but we were doing My Father's World Adventures in U.S. History. This program is great, just not for us. I wanted to love this so much this year. We've made a lot of changes in our core this year, and this one's been needed for a while, and I kept putting it off. And we had a really nice relaxing break out of town, and we had a long Christmas break, and we came back and did a couple weeks. And then after going out of town and taking another week off, I was like, this still isn't working. It's not working for our schedule, our life, our family. We're not feeling like we're accomplishing our goals, and that's not working for us. She's learning with it, and we're doing things, but it's not what we should be doing, I feel like, for my daughter's developmental level, for our life where we're at. So that's the first thing we are getting rid of as a whole. Like, there are a couple things we might keep out of this, but we are stopping this as a guide. We're not going to be doing pretty much anything as it's supposed to look in here going forward. And I'm going to tell you why, and why this does not make this a bad curriculum. I have an only child. My Father's World is definitely geared toward families with larger families. Now, that doesn't mean that somebody with an only child could not make this curriculum work. I think that it could be great for the right person with the right child in the right season. For me, that's just not where I'm at. It's not a good fit for us. And I'm going to tell you a couple reasons why. The science is very light. I know I could just pick up another science and continue with the history, but I'm not a fan of it, like, at all. My daughter does not like it. And I can 100% understand why in the right family, this is an amazing science program. A family that maybe has a second grader or maybe even a third grader like my daughter is, that has younger siblings that want to join in and want to just do all the fun things with the older sibling, and you need it to be a little lighter maybe if you have younger siblings or if you have younger children besides your oldest. Because if you know anything about My Father's World Adventures in U.S. History, this is only for oldest children or only children. This is not a program for if you have like older kids, they would just join the other older kids in the family cycle. So this is for, this one is specifically for oldest or only children. If you have an oldest child and there's a couple following along maybe in kindergarten and you're teaching that child to read, or you have in a preschooler and a baby, I can see where the really light science would be so helpful, because you would be able to combine them, and you're not just sending your kid off to read a book and telling them to do worksheets, or trying to do these wild experiments with an older kid and they all want to be together playing still. But that's that family specific dynamic, and we don't have that. And I actually have a pretty advanced avid reader and somebody who loves science. And so we tried a couple of things. We tried adding in some different, like apologia. We tried just like tweaking it a little, and nothing we have found so far compared to what we did last year and what my daughter liked last year. So we are just tossing that out the window. And so for science, we're picking up Sonlight. I have everything here, our Sonlight science. Sorry, I'm like reaching across here. This is the science, like everything's in this box. We did half the year in second grade. At the end of second grade, beginning of this year, we jumped right into adventures. So I still have half of this DVD to do. This book, the science activities, this is our Friday experiments. And then, I had another science book here somewhere. I have this. This is the first thing we'll be picking up. There's a few more books, but this is the first one we'll be going through. And then I also have, this is all the student sheets, and something else I had planned to do in here. So for a second, I just want to talk about why that is what I'm doing, because we sat down and we were like, there's not enough lab. And when there is like lab, it's so light that it's like, read this page or two from this book and do this really simple experiment. And they're like, the experiments are not where my daughter's at in level. She should be doing a little bit more challenging, like this book, which is similar Usborne format of the My Father's World that we do for the labs on Fridays. This one has things like with magnets and light and mirrors, and we did water. And so it has these like, almost like physics style, learning, hands-on activities that are teaching the child, not in just a way that's just these pictures and writings. She's going to read something from here. She's going to watch a DVD showing the experiments, and then she's going to use the materials from her lab box to do those experiments on Fridays. And she would always get like, even it just inspired her. Like she would get more creative after that and think of other things like, what if we tried this, Mom, or what if we tried that? And for some reason, the format with My Father's World, she's not doing that. Like she just wants to get it done, because I think maybe they're a little more babyfied. The levels or the exact Usborne books they're using here are a little different, because I think they're more of the younger, like Sonlight used those books in kindergarten. But I understand why they're using them. And I think it has to do with the fact that they expect that most people using My Father's World have younger children. And so I understand that. And I think if somebody had a younger child, it's a great program. It's just not working for us. And then there are no science worksheets with Sonlight. With My Father's World. With Sonlight, which is what I have in here, there are daily questions and there are worksheets. Sorry, I'm like all over. So you see, like, it'll be assigned what you have to do that day. So I have the science teacher's guide, and in this teacher's guide, it's going to tell me what worksheets she's supposed to do on what days. So it's just breaking that down, like what numbers from her worksheet she is doing on what day for the week. And then Friday, she has her experiment. And then there's also other hands-on things besides the experiment to do together. And then she also has like all of her reading scheduled out for me. That is amazing for us for science. It works for her. She likes having science every day. She likes doing the readings. This one does have the internet link, so she's going to be able to use that. use the internet links to watch YouTube videos and things. So let me talk to you a little bit about why we just jumped in and did this, because this book would eventually get done in my father's world. The problem is, this is at my daughter's level right now, this book is. And if she stuck with my father's world, she would not get to this until 6th grade. This book is not, in my opinion, a 6th grade level book. But I understand that my father's world schedules this specific book in 6th grade with other books with it, assuming that you have multiple children. And this could be anywhere. It would be in Rome to the Reformation. And I think that's great. If you have a lot of kids and you need science to like fit all of those children, like you have a 2nd grader and a 4th grader and a 6th grader, you might want to use this with all of them to do a brief overview, and then maybe assign the older children bigger projects and the younger children these easier things, and just kind of make it work for your family. And I understand the frugality of that and why people would want that. I have one child though. And so this is where I keep trying to fit myself into this My Father's World box because I want to. And I love what they stand for and their program and their values, and I love it. But it's not fitting with our family. And the main reason behind that is that I have one kid. And I keep trying to make it happen. And the older we've got through, the older my daughter's gotten, the more we've got through some of the My Father's World, we've realized it's just not a fit for us. Because when my daughter gets to 6th grade, she doesn't need 3rd grade level books. It's okay if we had some and we wanted to read something, or this was on the shelf and she was looking at it. It's just that I don't need multiple levels from 2nd to 8th grade level for the same time period of history just to have them because I have multiple levels of children. I need something catered to my child. So I'm purchasing something that has all this broad amount of levels. They have things from 2nd all the way up to high school, and they even have suggestions for preschool sometimes in their guide if you had a preschooler tagging along. I don't have that. So I'm just trying to make something work that's not working. That's not a good fit. I don't want to say, again, it's not that my daughter doesn't learn from it. It's just I am spending large amounts of time catering a program to my child when there's something out there that's already written. And that's the difference. So some people don't like this. And I understand if you have more than one child, or you maybe 2 would be okay with this. But if you have a large family, this might be overwhelming because you might have different cores and different levels you're dealing with. But to me, this is like having the teacher planner already completely done. Like somebody told me, these are the pages for this day. These are the pages for this day. That's amazing, because the My Father's World guide is not like that. They are more telling me like just a guideline. Their examples will have things like certain things will be scheduled for books and states and different stuff, but a lot of it's like the worksheet is scheduled, the activity is scheduled, but not the page numbers of the books and the actual books we're doing like in this way. This is actually to me more of like a teacher plan already done, whereas this is like we're giving you a guideline and allowing you to roll with it. And that's really good if you have a large family, because you can keep all the kids on the same topic and you can add in the books that work for you, because they don't know what ages your kids are. If you're using My Father's World, especially in the family cycle or even in adventures, they don't know if you have preschoolers tagging along. They don't know if you have older kids. And like when you get into like exploring countries and cultures through the modern times, they don't know if you have other ages that need covered, or what books would be good to fill in for the ages in your household. So they give you suggestions and they really help you to make that plan your own. I don't need that because I have one child. So I don't need to spend my time catering the program to her, because I'm like over analyzing. And that's not something that My Father's World did wrong, but I'm constantly like tweaking it to be perfect for my only child. There's never going to be a perfect curriculum. And my daughter loves this format. So I don't know what I was thinking this year. I think I just already had this on the shelf because we did kindergarten and 1st grade, and we weren't having the greatest time in 2nd. We didn't even try this yet in 2nd. So I just went with my own thing, and then I wasn't loving that, so I bought Sonlight. That's just kind of a brief overview. So when we started third, I thought, let's do this. So that's not working. With that not working, we're just also going to go into this. We're going to go back to the intro to world history. Now let me tell you what that means for what we were doing in my father's world. That doesn't mean I'm stopping completely state studies. I would like to get through the 13 original colonies this year with our state studies, because I think we're on state 7. I would like to get through the first 13 states at least through the rest of this year. And then I'm going to pause. I'm just going to hit pause, because next year, if we continued with Sonlight past Core B and went into Core C, we would be doing modern world history, and I might just pick up those states and do 1 or 2 a week. And they're really easy, and they only take a few minutes to do. So I could pick a day each week to do a state. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And I'm not going to even pull out the My Father's World guide with that, because it's super easy to just do my own thing. And I have a couple atlases and let her look it up and read a little bit about the state and a couple of different books I have. And that's what we've been doing anyways. So I think that's what we're going to do. I still want to kind of cover all those states and work on them, but we're just saying we learned early American history this year, because we did. We covered Native Americans. We covered George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin. We learned a lot about the colonies. We learned a lot about William Penn. We learned about the Pilgrims and the Mayflower. And we learned all of this great early American history. We learned about the explorers, the good and the bad. We learned about just a lot about ancient tribes, and more modern Native Americans. So I'm happy with saying that was our American history, and we're moving into world history. We left off with Greece with this. We had done all of Egypt, and we needed to pick up with Greece. So we're just going to do that. We're going to spend the rest of the year diving into Greece, because what we were doing just wasn't making us happy. And that doesn't make any sense. We're homeschooling. She could go to any school and not be happy. I don't want her to feel like mom's keeping me home and we're not loving it. And we're not. It's the last month, I would say, of homeschool, the last 2 weeks that we've had in the last 2 weeks before Christmas break. It just was a struggle to get through. And it just was very checklisty. And I couldn't have a smooth day. And so I want to tell you a couple of the reasons why. I talked to you about getting through those days and checking those boxes. This is a week of Sonlight. You're going to have the Bible. So this is leading little ones to God, your Bible reading, your memorization, and then your song. So you're going to do, this is leading little ones to God. This is going to be our devotional. This is going to be our daily reading. This is going to be our memorization. And then the CD, which I also have on my phone, is going to be what we listen to learn this verse. Then you're going to have Around the World with Kate Mack just on Mondays. And that's going to be a cultural study for missions. Then you're going to have a child's history of the world, or this Usborne book, or there's a couple other books that sometimes we use for history. And then this day you see there's map work and a timeline figure. This is our read alouds. So sometimes there's poetry, and then this is her read aloud in the chapters I would be reading aloud to her. That is the bulk of what's called an HBL, which is History, Bible, Literature. If you see, there is not a lot of hands-on, there's not a lot of projects, there's no papers assigned, it's just this. Now I will tell you, when we do Sonlight, we do add to it, and I have an only child, so that is not hard. I understand why some people don't like Sonlight, especially if you have a lot of children, or even 2 or 3, or even 2 spaced apart. It can be difficult. For me, with an only child, it's very easy for me to just go on here and go straight down that list. And if it happens to be a day that that's all we get done, we finish school for HBL. Our history and our Bible and our literature are finished for the day. Now, if it's a day where there's only, this day, this is a reading she would do on her own. This one from the Usborne Book of World History. So if that was her reading for the day, I'm trying to see where that is. So that's from this book. She does those on her own because they're shorter readings. Like, I'll open it up and show you. I just give her this and she reads about what's on there. It's kind of like a fun textbook format, I guess. It's not really a textbook, but it's not really a living book. She can read that on her own. Tell me some facts or something she learned about it. And then sometimes if there's something like, let's say we're learning about like Alexander the Great, maybe there's a famous figure in here, I can have her cut out. And these are just like whatever works in the time period. These are the ancient ones, so these work well still with what she has. Sometimes I've Dover coloring books. I'll hand her a coloring book. We did work through some of this when we were doing it in 2nd grade, and I can still use some of these because I believe there's like a section on China we didn't get through. We're going to do and Greece, and they're both in here because we only had done Mesopotamia and Egypt and just an overview of what is history. So we still have some of these history pockets we can do. But the thing is, we don't have to complete that day of school. Whereas in my Adventures in U.S. History, they did not schedule those readings. They scheduled assignments. And then you had a book basket you could pick readings from. And then that left me with way more scheduling. And this may just be a personality thing, or it may be an mom of an only child thing. But it was so much easier for me to just have, this is what you have to read. And then if there's a book that works well with it, we read it. If there's a fun activity we want to do, we do it. If there's something I find online that's like, this is a great idea and I want to add it in, we add it in. That's just how it works. So that is the main stuff, the main 2 subjects, science and our HBL, that are not working for us. So in another video, there are a couple more things that aren't working, but in order to keep this video short, because like I said, I was changing a lot, I'm going to do a sequel to this because I don't want to keep this going forever. So those are the 2 main changes, which are huge changes we're going to be making this year. It's going to be science and then history, Bible, literature. They needed to happen. So history, Bible, literature, we're going to do Bible. We're going to go back to our devotional and our read alouds and our Kate and Mac. In history, we're going back to ancient Greece. In our literature, we're going back to all the read alouds from the time period and from just the core B from Sonlight, the HBLB, and kind of stopping what we were currently doing with My Father's World for the foreseeable future. We're also going to be doing with science. Yes, so we're just stopping all the science with My Father's World also, and we're jumping into that. Those are the major changes we made. So don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I hope this is helpful to you, and stick around and wait for round 2 of this, what we're changing this year.